All right. Good evening, everyone. How are you? This is Sonia Sukar. It is 6:07, October 13th. We are here meeting for the Citizens Bond Oversight Board Committee. This is our group tonight. Before we get started, I just wanted to take a moment. I know we're all working remotely and we have a virtual committee meeting this evening, but there's a lot happening in the world, a lot in our state and certainly our city. And so we definitely think about those that are just a difficult time. Businesses are suffering and people are still contracting this terrible, deadly virus. So, just again, thank you for those that are joining us tonight. And, as a reminder, always mask up when you're outside of the bubble in our spaces. But we do have quorum this evening. So we have both Justin Trieger here and Ruth Ewing. Am I saying that, Ruth Ewing? So the two of them, including myself, make 3 board members, and I am the vice chair. We currently do have a vacancy for the chair as well, so we'll talk about that a little later. We have 2 vacancies. But again, we do have quorum for this night to conduct business. So the first item on the agenda is the approval of our last July 29th meeting minutes. So Ruth, Justin, if you guys did see that and if you approve that, we should be good. Unless you have any questions, concerns.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes.
I'll second that motion.
Great. All right. Moving on to the next item of the agenda. It's our open public comment period. And so I'll allow for our legal team to explain a little bit how the public comment is working this evening, because we do have, I think, a camera up at City Hall and there are some attendees on the line, and we've also received some emails. So is it Richard? Sorry, Richard from the legal team?
Yeah, yes. So yeah, I believe we are receiving public comment for this meeting. If there is none, we can proceed.
Well, why don't we take a moment? I know there's attendees on the call. I don't know if anybody, if attendees mean the public or press or anybody who might be on the call that would like to speak during this period. I don't see anyone at City Hall, so I'm just seeing. All right. And if not, we'll move into the email that was sent. Richard, we all received an email for the public comment that was made a little earlier today by Michael Hepburn. And I know we all received it. And is it possible for you to read that or share that so that it's on the public record?
I do not have that. I was not forwarded that email. So if somebody else has that, you can forward it to me or just read it yourself.
Okay.
I believe Richard needs to read the legal script that precedes the public meetings.
That I have.
Yeah, I think you should read that before. Yeah.
Okay.
So let's start.
Any person who is a lobbyist pursuant to Chapter 2, Article 6 of the City Code must register with the city clerk and comply with related city requirements for lobbyists before appearing before the Miami Forever Bond Program Citizens Oversight Board. A person may not lobby a city official, board member, or staff member until registering. A copy of the code section about lobbyists is available in the city clerk's office or online at www.municode.com. In accordance with Section 2888 of the City Code, written notice for this virtual meeting was provided to the city clerk at least 7 days prior to this virtual meeting. Since this is a virtual meeting as authorized by the governor of the state of Florida, members of the public wishing to address the body may do so by visiting miamigov.com/virtualboards to submit their written comments via online comment form. Members of the public may also call 305-250-5351 to provide comments via the dedicated City of Miami public comment voicemail. All comments submitted will be included as part of the public record for this virtual meeting and will be considered by the Miami Forever Bond Program Citizens Oversight Board prior to any action taken. The Miami Forever Bond Program Citizens Oversight Board will accommodate any speakers desiring to appear in person at City Hall, subject to all applicable emergency measures in place to prevent the further spread of COVID-19. Speakers who appear in person will be subject to screenings for symptoms of COVID-19. Any persons exhibiting any symptoms of COVID-19 will not be permitted to enter City Hall. All interested parties are required to abide by all state, county, and local emergency orders and are urged to remain at home and practice social distancing. If a proposition is being continued or rescheduled, the opportunity to be heard may be at such a later date before the Miami Forever Bond Program Citizens Oversight Board takes action on such proposition. When addressing the Miami Forever Bond Program Citizens Oversight Board, the member of the public must first state his or her name, his or her address, and what item will be spoken about. When the Miami Forever Bond Program Citizens Oversight Board takes action or votes on any proposition before it, it shall do so by roll call vote, which shall be recorded by the board's liaison and included in the record. Please silence all cell phones and other noise-making devices. Any person with a disability requiring assistance, auxiliary aids, and services for this meeting may notify the board's liaison. Please note that the Miami Forever Bond Program Citizens Oversight Board members have generally been briefed by the city staff and the city attorney on items on the agenda today. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Richard. And again, just opening it up to anybody who is on the call from the public that would like to speak or make again, the number is 305-250-5150. Anybody at City Hall? No, I don't see anyone. So again, just moving into the email. I don't know, Richard, if you said you did not receive it, so one of us should just maybe read it out. Ruth or Justin, if you would like to share that. If not, I'm happy to read it. All right. We'll keep it brief here. This was submitted by Michael Hepburn earlier today. Good evening, board members. First, I hope all is well with you and your families as we continue to push through to better days and recover from COVID-19 together. It is unfortunate that I have to reach out to you about this matter, but the lack of response from my own district commissioner office to respond to multiple inquiries regarding the possibility to join you all on the Miami Forever Bond Citizens Oversight Board was unacceptable. After diligently reaching out to Commissioner Keon Hardiman, our district has not more than 6 times since August 3rd, 2020, regarding my interest to serve. All I've received back from his office was silence. Our district has not had anyone represent us on this vital oversight board for an exceptionally long time now, and the inadequate response that I received as a resident of our city, constituent of District 5, who tried to reach out to be of service, is very disheartening. The city of Miami and our elected officials talk about running an efficient government, which is inclusive and responsive to our resident needs, but the poor service that I experienced from our district staff and the lack of effort to just return an email or to initiate a quick phone call to give perhaps an update was disrespectful. After speaking to my fellow neighbors who were the ones that actually pushed me to try to serve in this capacity, we decided that this incident needed to be recorded. So I write to you today to officially file a formal complaint to the record on the poor constituent service and our commissioner's negligence to fulfill his obligation to our district residents. To have representation is particularly important oversight board. We knew that if I voiced my experience of what has occurred, the chances of me being considered for an appointment from our city commissioner would be and I consider my candidacy for this board, but I hope he will still appoint a qualified member from our district to serve on this important board as soon as possible so we can have representation. Respectfully, Michael Hepburn, who has a master's in education. So that's from Michael. It is a disappointment. Hopefully we will fill that seat soon because we have not filled it, along with having the seat that we have vacant as well. I just want to let everyone know the chair seat, the mayor's appointee, is also is up. Yeah. So
Hey, I'm sorry to interject. There's actually a portion of the my preamble that I didn't see previously.
Oh, more legal that you need to share? Okay.
More fun, more of the fun stuff.
Okay.
Again, yeah, sorry to interject, but the Miami Forever Bond Program Citizens Oversight Board is using Zoom to hold its October 13th, 2020 virtual meeting. Zoom is a cloud platform for video and audio conferencing, collaboration, chat, webinars across mobile devices, desktops, telephones, and room systems. In order to ensure that the public has the ability to view the meeting, the Miami Forever Bond Program Citizens Oversight Board will broadcast the meeting, and the meeting can be viewed live on Miami TV, miamigov.com/TV, through the city's YouTube channel, and on Comcast Channel 77 for City of Miami residents. The broadcast will also have closed captioning. Additionally, the Miami Forever Bond Program Citizens Oversight Board has not selected a virtual platform that requires the public to purchase or download any additional software or equipment to watch this meeting. Aside from the Zoom platform and that the participants will be appearing remotely, the public will have no discernible difference in their ability to watch the meeting. The Miami Forever Bond Program Citizens Oversight Board has developed several new methods of ensuring public comment for a virtual meeting. It has established two new options. One, the first new option allows the public to provide public comments via the dedicated Miami Forever Bond Program Citizens Oversight Board public comment voicemail by calling 305-250-5351, where the individual will be able to leave a 2-minute message that will be played during the virtual Miami Forever Bond Program Citizens Oversight Board meeting. The second new option allows the public to submit comments via the Miami Forever Bond Program Citizens Oversight Board online public comment form. The comments submitted through the comment form have been distributed to the board members and the city staff throughout the day so that the Miami Forever Bond Program Citizens Oversight Board members can consider their comments prior to taking any action. Additionally, the online comment form will remain open during the meeting to accept comments and distribute the Miami Forever Bond Program Citizens Oversight Board members up until the vice chairperson closes public comment. For all the aforementioned options, all the comments received will be included in the public record of the meeting. These two new options, the Miami Forever Bond Program Citizens Oversight Board also created a simple set of instructions explaining how the public may submit their comments with either option. Those instructions were provided in the notice to the public and published online at miamigov.com/virtualboards. Additionally, like any other Miami Forever Bond Program Citizens Oversight Board meeting, the public may provide public comment at City Hall during the meeting. The Miami Forever Bond Program Citizens Oversight Board set up a terminal in the event members of the public travel to City Hall to provide public comment. However, due to COVID-19, all speakers desiring to appear in person will be subject to all applicable emergency measures in place to prevent further spread of COVID-19. Speakers who appear in person will be subject to screening for symptoms of COVID-19. Any persons exhibiting symptoms of COVID-19 will not be permitted to enter City Hall, but will be able to participate through remote options described above. These three public comment options established and provided for the virtual Miami Forever Bond Program Citizens Oversight Board meeting comply with Section 286.114 and Section 120.54 Florida statutes. The Miami Forever Bond Program Citizens Oversight Board has published an agenda as well as included the notice to the public pursuant to our city code and the items and the topics that will be discussed at the virtual Miami Forever Bond Program Citizens Oversight Board meeting. Additionally, the public has been given the opportunity to provide public comment during the meeting, the terminal at City Hall, and the online public comment form, and within reasonable proximity and time before the meeting and during via the public comment voicemail and online public comment form. Section 286.114 Florida statute specifically authorizes the Miami Forever Bond Program Citizens Oversight Board to prescribe procedures or forms for the individual to be used in order to inform the board or commission of a desire to be heard to indicate his or her support, opposition, or neutrality on a proposition. The Miami Forever Bond Program Citizens Oversight Board, through its three public comment options, has provided three different procedures and forms to indicate, among other things, his or her support, opposition, and neutrality on the items and topics to be discussed at the virtual Miami Forever Bond Program Citizens Oversight Board meeting. The Miami Forever Bond Program Citizens Oversight Board provides information on how to submit public comments in the notice to the public and on the dedicated webpage via social media channels. Vice Chairperson, are you comfortable with all the notice provisions set forth in these uniform rules of procedures the city has established for this virtual meeting?
I am. Thank you, Richard.
Thank you.
So we could close it, right? Or could we just keep it open if someone does appear at City Hall or submit a comment? We can address it when that comes. And if it doesn't, we'll just close the public comment period at the end.
You may.
Okay, great. Let's do that. Thank you, Richard, for all of that. So moving forward into old business, I have an update on current Miami Forever bond projects. So that is with the package, and I believe Suleiman will get into that. But just to make sure everybody did get their package, that was emailed earlier from Sandra Patricia. So you can see a little, you can see the project listed and the slides that were included in that as well. Thank you. Suleiman?
All right, I would like to turn it to Chris Rose to give a brief introduction on how this meeting is going to go, and then I'll jump into the update. Chris?
Thank you, Suleiman. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Vice Chair and members, and all of our subject matter experts that are here this evening. We are going to go through the agenda that the Vice Chair has already put before you. And first up is Suleiman with our old business, which is we're just going to go through the same information and presentation, just updated. We've hit a stride, and we know how to update you on all the different things. So I'm going to turn it back over to Suleiman, and I'll get to it a little later on. And I know we've got a couple of other new business items on there. So thank you, Madam Vice Chair.
Thank you, Chris. I just would like to know if you guys can see the screen right now, the presentation that I just posted up.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, good. Good evening, everyone. My name is Suleiman Uikani, and I am the Miami Forever Bond Program Manager. And here is the agenda for today. We're going to touch on these 6 points, the accomplishments to date, where we stand from the last time we met. And that is basically includes the Tranche 1 project status and expenditures. We have a special presentation today on a selected project, Jose Marti Park. We have our consultant from Curtis and Rogers who's going to go in a detailed presentation on where we are with that project. And I'm very excited for that because it's a signature project for us. And then we're going to talk on the communication and engagement that we have done thus far and what we have planned for upcoming ones. And we're going to touch a little bit on the matching funding that we have done so far and what we're trying to pursue further for the Miami Forever Bond projects. In addition, this is a bigger part too. We're going to talk about the future Miami Forever Bond project as a whole. So this just quickly to the purpose of the Oversight Board. I guess you guys all have seen this and read many times. This is the relationship between the city, the Oversight Board, and the City Commission. And on the status. So accomplishments to date, as you know, we have 33 projects. In reality, we have some city-wide projects which actually equal to some 243 projects. If you count all the sidewalks in the parks, citywide parks that we have tidal valves, pipe drainages, we're completing, and very poor roads that we're trying to improve our roads in the city too, and that equals to 243. And that is the funding that you're all familiar with that was allocated to Tranche 1 for infrastructure and affordable housing. As you can see, we have about 4 projects. We're still counting them as a 4 project in planning, these mainly affordable housing. But some of them, like the economic development one, has actually progressed. Some of the projects are along the way. And we have 3 projects in A&E selection currently, 15 in design, 1 in bidding, 8 are currently construction. We have completed 2. But if you look at the further down below here, you can see the accomplishments that we completed thus far. There's 150 out of the 243. We have 159. I think it's a slight difference on the number that I gave you on the package because I just updated some numbers this morning. We have completed 65 backflow valves, preventers. We have also did the Miami Forever Bond funding, but then we had some additional matching funding from the FDEP funds, which we've done about 33. Spot drainages, we have just completed 14, and I think we are well off in completing that project very soon. We have 3 park roofs that we have completed, 5 playgrounds we have installed, We have improved the access and mobility on the 26 parts throughout the city. And we have advanced, I think this is a major milestone into a project of completing designs. So we count that as a big accomplishment. What's coming up down the line in the next 3 months, we have about we are hoping to complete one project, which is the Fairview Drainage Project, which is the phase 1. That's a signature project within ours in the Miami Florida bond as well. We hope to start the design of 2 projects, start the construction of 1 project, and start the bidding process of the 3 projects. Okay, it's not clicking. Okay, now if I can turn this to the other screen, you already have this. Let me know if you see now this Excel sheet that I just posted up here.
Yes.
So this is the comprehensive report that we usually do. And as you can see, we have some movements in there in terms of like the phases and how projects are progressing. And what I'm going to touch in here is mostly like on the expenditures portion of it. And as you can see here to your right on the screen here, it's that when you account only the bond funds only and the actuals and encumbrances thus far that we have done, we are at 14.7 million. And that equals to, if you do only infrastructure at 34%, and if you factor the affordable housing, the 15 million part of it, it's at 25% complete thus far. And then down below here, if you don't account the committed funding that we actually have done, we are at 17% infrastructure complete, and 12 if you factor the affordable housing portion of it. And if you take all the funds, because you know that a lot of these projects don't have only Miami Forever Bond funds, it also has other funding as well. So if you account that, actual spend alone is 16% and 13% respectively if you factor the affordable housing portion. And as you can see, we have done 69, which I'm going to touch a little bit further down when we talk about it. Any specific questions on the report that you have seen and read before we move on to the next portion of the presentation and update?
Just, can you say that one more time? So for just the bond, 34% has been spent of the 58 million.
If you take only the funding from Miami Forever bond dollars, we have spent 7.2 for infrastructure only, and that is equal to 17%. But if you factor of how much we have actually also committed to spend, which is under contract, we are at 14.7, and that equals to 34%.
14.7.
Yeah, and that is on the report. All right.
Got it.
Through the chair, I have a question.
Yes.
So the projects at risk, there are 3 projects that are listed as being at risk.
Yes. So
Last time, I guess we had more than that, 7 or so. So the 3 that are remaining at risk?
yes. So the ones that you see here is you basically have the one number 5, which is Northwest 17th Street from Northwest 27th Avenue. That required a little bit of a redesigning because as we learned when we worked through the process is that we had to adjust a little bit the length of the road that we were designing to, and that kind of like pushed back the schedule a little bit. The risk on that is mainly because we wanted to make sure that we accomplish on time, and then that's for us to make sure that we monitor on a timely basis that we complete it. In addition to that, once we were a little bit further into the design, we came to an agreement that we needed to also talk to the WASI to add a sewer line in there too, and that kind of pushed back a little bit the schedule, and that's why you see that as a risk. On the Legion Park boat ramp one, that is because we were having some issues with the contractor who is not showing up at the construction. I think right now we have sent the matter into legal, and they are working on trying to see how we address that portion of it. And that has to do either with COVID-19 or whatever the reasons is. We're trying to find out and figure that out. So that's going to delay a little bit the construction, and that's why the red flag in it. Douglas Park Community Center, we have some issues in terms of, if you think about it, this is a really old projects, and we had to kind of like go back and redo some parts of the design. But what's making the design so taking this long is because we had to go and really scan all the paperwork and then put it through the iBuild now so that we can get all the permitting through the agencies and get it done. So I think it's like a little bit of logistics, a little bit of like a redesigning made based on the new requirements, etc. That is kind of delaying the design portion of it. But I think we are well off right now, and I think we're gonna. I think I have Hector here. I think we're gonna be soon going into bidding phase because we are just waiting their agencies to give us the permits.
So Suleiman, my
Yes.
question regarding the Legion Park boat ramp,
Yes.
is it possible to have that added to the spreadsheet that there's, that it's been sent to legal as also part of the comment?
Yes. I will add
And,
that. Okay.
Thank you. And then I guess also for the Douglas Park, I don't know which particular permits are the ones that are at issue. Is there something specific as permits that's causing an issue, or?
I think if I'm not mistaken, it's more like general, like just basically like going through the reviews and then also like communicating with the Durham too. So it's not only the city, but it's a multi agencies that's delaying a little bit of that. I think
So county as well as city.
Yeah, but we are well off in the I mean, we are right now. We are actually in the final stages of that. We should have the permit very soon.
Okay, thank you.
Suleiman, where do you feel by the end of the year, percentage-wise, you guys will be at in completed projects?
In terms of expenditures, I think we're gonna. I made the calculation somewhere, but I think we're gonna make progress because right now, like we have a lot of projects here that are in design phase that are actually going to advance into bidding, and once that is done, that's going to be a lot of like the expenditures that are all going to actually hit the accounts, and also all of these construction, as you can see, 8 of them. Once we make progress in that, it's going to do that. I would say we're going to make some progress in it, but I'm hesitant to give you an exact number of the percentage of where we're going to be at. But definitely, we can. I can look into that, and I can send you a forecast.
Yeah, I think that would be great just to see, especially as we're moving into new projects, just to kind of understand what we've completed to date, percentage-wise. And then the other thing, I just had a question. Most projects, estimating 2021, 2022 to be completed, besides the Moore Park Gym. Am I right there?
Well, the Moore Park Gym, it's extended that because it's a very it's design and construction of the whole project, and it's really going to take a little bit longer than it's normal how long it takes. So I think Lara can chip in there, like how long it takes to build the gym a little bit, but.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to see like the majority of projects that are listed within 2 years should be done, completed, give or take.
That's my wish. That's my
Maybe
hope.
Douglas Park as well. Maybe that might go a little bit.
Yes. We have few projects that might go a little bit over than 2 years, but yeah, most of them are going to be completed.
Suleiman, just an informal reaction from you as far as the progress that's been made so far.
Yeah.
I'd be curious to know how you feel about being however many years in and 33% of Tranche 1 completed, and then we're about to begin a second tranche, and how that will potentially add stress and workload for you, and how that will affect Tranche 1. Or do you feel like we're in a good place, or are you?
We're going to touch base on that a little bit later when we talk about the remaining of the future projects that we have it on the agenda. I think we're going to touch on that, and then we're going to go a little bit more in detail with that.
But as far as Tranche 1, are you comfortable with where we are right now?
I mean, I would hope that we should have made a little bit more progress than where we are. but I think we are in a position right now that we probably are going to make a significant progress starting like the first quarter of next year. You're going to see a huge difference in terms of expenditures and a movement on the project, because as you can see here, we have about 15 projects already are in design, and a lot of them are. I mean, I can tell you right now, Shenandoah Park, for example, is right now is going to bidding very soon. This Douglas Park, you got Spring Garden Point, Alice Wainwright. Actually, we're just waiting final permit. I think we're hoping in the first week of November to go into construction. You got a lot of these projects are going to be completed very soon. So that's going to make a huge progress once we, within the next, I would say 6 months, in the first quarter of next year, you're going to see progress. So yes, I would say I'm comfortable that we're gonna get close to when we get to the end of 2021.
Great. And since we are talking old business, I know that we went into a deep dive on the affordable housing projects last time, which was really great from Mr. Duran, and I think he is on the call. I think there were some items. It'd be great to just hear from him briefly, maybe not details on the projects, but I know that they were going to have 2 positions that they were going to fill, that there was definitely a real need from the department to get help given COVID-19 and resources. So I don't know if Mr. Duran was on it, can join and just maybe give a couple words. Is that fine before we get into new business or move through the slides?
I think we have him on the call. There he is.
Yes, hi. Good evening, everybody. Yes, the 2 positions the department needed to fill have been filled and are working right now. The department is also involved in a number of recovery programs besides the bond projects, rental program that for eviction prevention, just a number of programs to help our citizens cope with the economic impact that this COVID and distancing have brought to them. So those individuals are helping us in those areas as well. But particularly in the area of the hardening of the affordable single-family hardening program, those individuals will help us in processing those files and those applicants. So yes, we did hire those 2 individuals.
Great news. That's great to hear.
It is. Thanks to the budget director.
Suleiman, if you want to continue with the slides.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Duran. All right, and here's another way of looking at the expenditure status or where we are overall with what I just mentioned in that. With the exception of that, I actually added here a point number 4 here, where you can, what it considers like the whole Miami Forever bond, $400 million. And now I would like to turn in, this is just for like a snapshot, little details, but I would like to turn in to Mariana Boldu from Curtis and Rogers, who is going to give you a detailed update on the Jose Marti Park flood mitigation project.
Good afternoon, everybody. Can you allow me to share my screen, please?
Yes, let me stop this first. And then...
Okay. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay, great. So good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much to all the board members and to all the city staff and all the attendees. I hope this part of the meeting is going to be excited for everybody. So let's dive right into it. I want to begin by just giving a little bit of background. We started working on the project back in December of last year. We conducted a couple of very initial outreach meetings back then with the neighborhood and also with a peer review board to advise on the project in general. And since then, we conducted site analysis, schematic design. We had our first initial community meeting back in February, where the people attended and expressed all their needs and desires and their understanding of flood on the park and how they see their relationship with water, since this project it's a adaptive redesign of the park that it's going to have different phases, and the first one it's actually related to the coastal edge. So with that, I just wanted to explain a little bit better what that means. So the project area for the first phase is the area you see in light blue here, and it's related to the fine grained scope. So it would entail a few items, as you see listed here, such as the replace and retrofit of the seawall and the outfalls, a kayak launch, all the related river walk improvements that are tied to the coastal improvements, a water taxi landing, shoreline stabilization for sure, and how we manage water through, storm drainage and resiliency in general. The city commanded us to look at the park through the lenses of economy, ecology, and equity, and to develop a toolbox of climate adaptive design solutions that could also serve to the larger city and the region, really, in how to learn to live with water. So based on that and on the feedback and our site analysis, we proceed with the preliminary design. And what you see here, it's a site rendering plan that has a lot of little squares with colors. So I just wanted to explain you what they mean. All the blue items you see are related to equity, all the yellow ones to economy, and the green ones to ecology. So starting on the south shoreline of the project, all the ones you see in blue are connections to the water, which is one of the main things when we think about equity and how to give this neighborhood access to the water edge. All the two ones relate to the Living Shoreline Educational Trail, and I will dive into all these details as I move through the presentation. Then the yellow ones, the one right here underneath I-95 represents an opportunity for a market that is shaded and protected by the highway, sort of as a roof acting on that area. Then number 3 right here, it's the water taxi stop, which will give access to people to be able to move through the water as a mean of transportation. And number 2 on the north side is the kayak launch area right there. Then you have, very interesting things such as number 4 here, which are viewing decks on either side of a floating boardwalk that goes waterward of one of our living shoreline planters. And then the whole river walk area that gets improved through, nature and trails that are going to educate the people on how they relate to water. There is a lot of in-depth detail associated with each one of those and on an extensive spreadsheet, but I don't think you want to get into more spreadsheets today. So if you want any of that additional documentation, we can provide more complete presentation for you to dive deeper on the details. With that, I wanted to explain about our climate ready, what we call it, strategies and the toolbox. So we actually outline it for collect, protect, connect, and cool. And I am going to briefly talk about the 2 more important ones as they relate to the water edge and to improve resiliency to flooding for the park and the neighborhood. So this first one, it's collection of the water. And as you see here, it starts with the relationship with the neighborhood. So all these blue dashed lines you see coming in through the roads are what we call blue-green streets, are a result of interfacing with a sister project that we're also leading, which is the Southwest Street Master Plan. So the idea is that the water coming from the neighborhood down on the watersheds towards the river, it's going to be conveyed through these blue-green streets. And then they're going to arrive to the park, and you see a couple of things happening here. The dash orange line is an exfiltration trench that is going to capture that first volume of water. And at the same time, you have these little circles here, which are our infrastructure portal pilots. So these are going to be places where you're going to connect all the stormwater pipes that are coming through the streets to these baffle boxes and bio-contained filtration pilot projects that are going to further filtrate the water to put them back into the pipes and all the way down to the river with the backflow preventer valves at the end. So you see, there are 5 stormwater pipes coming through the river, and you see 4 backflow preventers at all those ends. In the midst of the park, the whole park is going to function as a sponge. So we have 2 main categories for these. All what you see in solid blue here is what we call blue-green sponges, and it's the green spaces absorbing water through quite a few different mechanisms, and I'll go into that next. And then all the dash areas that you see that it's either paved or built is going to be our blue-gray sponges. So it's permeable paver with a storage underneath to further percolate the water down to the aquifer, and then having a cleaner water reaching out to the river. And then at the end, at the edge of the river, we have a series of living shorelines. So we have a big planter, which we call South planter, and we have another one here on the north, and then a little bit of a middle one, and a retrofit and new seawalls that have living seawall components on it and ecological riprap. So the whole park is actually a collect device to celebrate and to understand the cycle of the water in a very different way from what we are today. So with that, I just wanted to walk you through a graphic that better illustrates what we're talking about here when we say, a blue-green street. We're talking about planting bump outs and tree cells for, collecting water, and permeable paving and exfiltration trenches and the like. So that would be kind of our first layer from the neighborhood into the park. Then you have a collection of tools through the blue-green gray sponges, with exfiltration trenches and biosoils and rain gardens and temporary floodable areas on the park and storage underneath the paving and the like. And then you kind of transition that from that strategy to the living shoreline with, salt marshes and mangrove planters and things like that. So this is in combination with our protect diagram. So this is about the water edge and what we're doing there. So just to be able to explain this in an orderly fashion, let me start going south to north. So this is existing seawall. And right here, we tied to the beginning of the retrofit of an existing seawall here that we're maintaining at the elevation that it's at. But we're creating landward, a mangrove planter in this area with a back raised retaining wall to meet the new guidelines of the code. Sorry. So this is our first planter, and you can see the arrows here are indicating open view. So we're only planting mangroves kind of in the center portion of this one to maintain the view cones where they matter. From there on, we have a new seawall coming, north all the way around that it's higher from, the existing one. It's really tight here on the pool, and you will see that later. So here we're gaining a space. We're kind of going waterward on this area to be able to provide these, and then the water taxi landing yet again with a raised retaining wall on the back. And then we keep on going with the living new seawall to our north living shoreline planter. And in here, we have a different strategy. On the south one, we're going landward. On the north one, we're going waterward. So we're coming forward from where the shoreline is today on the park. And we're doing that by, we're applying for a Butler Act. So we're gaining the park land that is gonna be owned by the city. So portion of all the things you're seeing here are gonna be on city-owned land, and the rest is gonna be a lease. So we're going through that whole process of talking to the agencies and having them review initial set of drawings. So the next one also, again, just illustrate what that means for people that it's not very familiar. So you have everything from, mangrove planters to salt marsh planters, and a little bit of a living seawall. And what that means is adding texture to the face of the wall, so small organisms could recruit and further filtrate the water, so it increases habitat and water quality and all the things that are deemed so important to the city and to the neighborhood. And then the opportunity to educate through the viewing platforms and being able to experience the living shoreline from the back, but on the front. The two of them are protected from the wakes. So the south one right here, you see it's behind the fenders under the I-95. And the north one, it's a little bit protected by the floating boardwalk that is in front of it. So this is the fun visualization portion where you can see what the park looks like today and what you experience at king tide, which every year we've been following for the last 3 years, documenting it, and every year comes a little bit further inland. So by what we're proposing, it would be this is on Southwest 2nd Street, so you will see an access to the kayak launch on that end, and the first viewing platform, and going down through the gangway to the floating boardwalk and the river walk on the backside of the north living shore planter. So the next image shows you the water taxi landing. And this is what the park looks like today at that corner. So you can see how tight it is. You cannot actually walk around even. And by this is the submerged land here. It's owned by the city. So we're just pushing this forward, and we're negotiating bits and pieces. You know how complicated that is. But by doing so, we are providing the 15 feet wide that the new guidelines for the river walk call for. And here you can see what it would be like to just, being able to wait for the water taxi under the shade and enjoy the river in all its, extent. So this one, it's a new rendering of the existing pavilion at the center of the park. So this is what it looks like today. We're maintaining the structure initially, but we are getting rid of a little bit of a pergola that goes around to be able to have it clear around the 15 feet river walk, unobstructed pathway. And you can see, improvements on the river walk and on the vegetation, providing a little bit more of a canopy and shade for the people to be able to enjoy. So this one shows you from right that area. So the pavilion would be right here on your left. You can either walk down to the floating boardwalk, back to the kayak launch at the end, or you can stay on this observational elevated deck at that extent. But here you get a sense of how you can actually enjoy and access water and very different opportunities throughout, and being able to monitor and experience and educate the living shorelines from both sides. So this one is the south planter. So underneath the I-95, again, here you can see how the mangroves are on the central portion of it. And then you can see how this whole area could be turned into a protected marketplace opportunity or events of many different kinds through the year. Here you get a sense of how it looks today. It's a very low area, very vulnerable to flooding. So this planter right here, we're keeping at the existing elevation of 2, and we're having this back retaining wall at 6. because right in there is a lot of existing infrastructure that needs to be maintained at that elevation. But it gives you a sense of how you can actually have everything. You can have nature-based solutions that make a park resilient. You can have views, and you can have an improved river walk that actually works with it for the better of everybody. So with that, I just want to touch up on one more point. The city is contemplating, and we're really excited about the opportunity of this project being the first WEDGE certified project in Florida. WEDGE stands for Water Edge Design Guidelines, and it's a certification very much similar to LEED, but equivalent to waterfront development. That it's kind of the state-of-the-art certification for water edge development, focusing on resiliency, access, and equity. So we're looking forward to make that happen. With that, I want to thank you. I welcome any questions. I'm sure you will have many, but I also wanted to pass it back to Suleiman to talk to you about project budget and grants. So I don't know if
thank
you want to
you,
go.
Yeah, you can leave this one and just go next. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Mariana. That was a very, very good presentation. And yeah, you can go next to that. So currently we are in the designing for the first phase and planning for the second phase, which is phase B. And that current estimates of the project, the ones that we, Curtis and Roche is actually designing to address the immediate need into the park, which is the waterfront. It's estimated to be at 17.7 million. And the rest is for the upland kind of improvements for the park, which is estimated the total to be at 26 million. And currently, I think further down into my presentation, something you have seen is we are right now exploring what are the grants available out there so that we can actually go for and build this. And we have already submitted a grant with the CDBG MIT for the amount of $17 million. And we are just waiting to see when that is going to happen. We have also, right now we are exploring to see whether this project meets the criteria to go also for the recent released grants, which is BRIC and also the FMA. So we are currently in that process, but there is a lot of grants and a lot of grantors who actually expressed interest on this project because it's such a unique project and it's innovative that we are addressing some of the vulnerabilities that we face here in terms of flooding into the city of Miami. So we are very exciting, and I think we have so many grants that we're going to go for, and we're going to make this project a reality. So thank you, Mariana, and I turn it back to the presentation and see if any of the board members have any questions about the project.
Well, I think it's very exciting. Congratulations, Mariana. I remember when you first announced this project a couple years ago. I think it's going to be an incredible addition to Little Havana and District 3, and just an exciting, innovative project, like you said, to pull people into what Miami's doing. Hopefully becomes the model park project. I had a question for the 26 million. I know it's like broken up. Are there any cost savings to those investments that you can maybe estimate or foresee, like, not needing pumps, perhaps these kind of features that you're including, stormwater improvements, anything like that, that there's like a return on that investment?
I don't think Mariana, we're not addressing any type of pumps in terms of this portion of it. No,
we're not having any pumps. What we do have are tie backflow preventers on the where the storm waters light into the river, so the king tide wouldn't back into the park. As far as savings, we're all the time looking for savings, and at the same time as we're moving forward, the numbers you saw were at a schematic design level, so they are changing and adjusting daily. But that said, I guess the bulk of the expenditure in here, it's in a big percentage. Let me get back to probably, do you see this graphic right here?
Yeah.
So, you see the blue, it's the initial phase. It's the coastal improvements and the associated stormwater infrastructure that has to go with it. It's pretty major. So all the other things are very minor in percentage. That said, we're all the time looking at the numbers and refining to see where we can save. One of the items that I could speak to is about not raising the park. The new elevation of the seawall, as you all know, it's 6 NAVD. So we're only raising the backside of the retaining walls to 4.5. So, but not filling, all the way to the new height. That alone, it's a huge saving on field for the park. Mm-hmm. So we're all the time looking at those kind of savings that are, structural, but sensitive. But yet, it's a big upgrade.
Interesting. Suleiman, could you go back to where the grants are out? The 2 grants that you said, the DEP, how much possibly that could be offset?
Sorry.
Wow.
Yeah.
So a $15 million grant that's currently out now?
Yeah. So, and I want to speak to that. We couldn't have applied to that grant if we wouldn't be doing all the things that we're doing. So a way of getting the money is by doing the right things, and those are investing in sound infrastructure. And it's a combination of green, gray, and blue. So it's integrated, resilient infrastructure. There is nothing that it's with one of the lenses alone. They're all working together. So it's very difficult when you start thinking about what could I not do, sort of.
Yeah, no, of course, to present that innovation. I'm sure they want to see that in these type of federal. This is a federal grant, right? Yeah, the DEO.
Yeah, this is the Department of Opportunity. Yeah.
Well, that's a significant amount. I mean, partially half of what you're estimating.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure Chris is happy to see that. Did Fine provide or any upfront costs? I don't remember if that was included.
Yes, this project has a Fine tied money for the design currently, and once the design is complete, then we're going to go for the construction portion of it.
Well, it looks incredible, the conceptuals or the schematic. I guess these are schematic designs now.
Mm-hmm. We have already completed design development, so we're moving into construction documents. We need to have permitted drawings by October of next year, so all of this is happening really fast.
And can I just ask how the reception has been with you, the city commissioner, the community, how you've received feedback with all of these designs?
So after our February meeting, which we documented extensively, we had the opportunity to just on September 30th, we conducted the first virtual City of Miami community meeting, and we had a great attendance. We had 46 people for the English presentation, and we have 42 for the Spanish. So we did it in both languages. And the project is actually posted on the OCI webpage on both languages as well. So I would really highly encourage you to spend a little bit of time there and directing any people that you know that might be interested on seeing it and providing feedback. So we hope that would be a great interface for receiving more comments. So far, we had actually only received one, but we're looking for more.
Just one last question. Did the Climate Resilience Committee see this yet, or,
yes.
Or is that next stage?
Yes.
Okay.
They saw it already a little bit over a month ago or more. I don't recall exactly the date, but they were gladly impressed and very supportive. So we still need to find ways of financing WEDGE and many other things, but we are proactively working together to make that happen.
Thank you, Marlena.
Thank you.
So I have a question through the chair. The question is regarding so I see that in the plan it was for design. So this project is to go all the way through construction as well?
Phase 1A is.
So phase one.
Let me this what you see on tranche 1 is only dedicated the funding for the design only to complete the design. So construction is going to be like different funding that we are trying to find. But if
So
yeah,
construction won't be associated with any bond funding. Only the design came out of bond funding.
yes, what this yes, we are gonna consider this project is gonna be part of the list that we're gonna add to the Miami Forever Bond project. But if you get funding from other sources, then we don't have to. We don't have to. This
So
is a
it's
priority.
possible. So this project is potentially also maybe in a different tranche 2 or tranche 3 as far as the actual construction.
For construction, correct. Okay. Mariana, can I share now my screen?
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Mariana.
Thank you very much, Mariana.
Right. Let me share this. Let me see if you see the screen. All right. In terms of the engagement, communication engagement, as you know, we have the website. We also have done 69 community meetings, and I'll show you like what we do. This is one of the ways we communicate Miami Forever Bond information to citizens, to city staff, the city commission, to you, and to other collaborators that are part of making this bond a success. And you've seen that hasn't changed since. And with the exception of the community meetings, some of those right now we are doing either via Zoom or we are inviting the community to visit plans that we are under the design into our website, and they have the opportunity to actually leave comments and feedback so that we can consider for that project. And another one here of type of engagement that we actually do and community meetings that we do. And here are some of the planned ones. The Legion Park Community Center community meeting we're hoping to do something that sometime this month. We're trying to do a groundbreaking for the citywide parks access and mobility. You saw we have done 26. We're trying to show the community of what we are doing with us. We're probably going to take Kennedy Park as an example for that. Spring Garden Point Community Center. This is going to be another community meeting. We're hoping November, December. Alice Wainwright groundbreaking. We're hoping, as I mentioned earlier, in the beginning of November. Riverside Park and enhancement. This is going to be another ribbon cutting because we installed the playgrounds and we are now addressing the field into that park to actually improve as well some of the remaining funding in the project. The Bryant Park playground also ribbon cutting. We also installed that. Lara is smiling because she has accomplished a lot. And Curtis Park Community Center, we just commenced on that one, and also like on the Arbiter Park. These two are in a tranche 1 as a design, and we have commenced on that. And I think we are in the process of trying to schedule meetings coming up towards the end of the year, beginning of next year. Here are the matching funding that I was mentioning here. As you can see here down on the bottom, you can see the state of Florida. We got from last appropriation, we got 1.5 million for backflow valves. We went again this year for 5 million, and because of COVID-19, the state decided to not fund any of that, so they stopped that. What have we done in the Brickell Bay Drive? We actually sent a FEMA grant for 16.8 million, and we were awarded 5.6 of that with additional funding as it comes available to be awarded in the later years. So that's really good news for us because we got some money for that project. The State of Florida program and grants, as I mentioned earlier, we went for CDBG MIT. You saw it in the presentation for Esta Markey Park. Right now, we are evaluating projects and which one we're going to take for BRIC and the FMA, also FEMA grants. So,
Suleiman, sorry, can you just pause one moment? So the
Yes.
the Brickell Bay Drive project got 5.6 million for design, or is that towards construction?
We apply, I think that's going to be more of it because this is a design build, it's going to be for design and construction. We can use for that. Both.
Oh, that's great.
So National Fish and Wildlife Foundation, we sent for Jose Marti Park another $240,000. I mean, that can pay for some of those items that Mariana was talking about. And as you can see here, I put fine because we're seeking fine for not only bond project but other infrastructure projects. But coming up, once we are ready to go into for some of the construction phases like Jose Marti Park and other projects, we're going to go and ask for fine projects as well. And housing, that's just a leveraging. I think Mr. Duran probably smiling. I don't see him, but he beats us in terms of leveraging. He got we have more than 200 million in terms of leveraging of the $15 million we allocated for this project, for this tranche only. And then this moves to the next section of the project selection in terms of where we're going with the next Miami Forever Bond project. You are familiar with this. I presented to this before. I'm going to skim it very through so that we get more time to go into the last portion of it, which is going to be future Miami Forever Bond project. As you know, we have established the guiding themes that guide Miami Forever Bond projects, the 5 categories, the amount allocated for each one of them, and then how much is remaining from what was actually applied on the tranche 1. These are project sources. As you know, we have multiple different master plans that are there to identify project selection for Miami Forever Bond. And as you can see in each of the categories, I have indicated where do projects usually come from. Then we have the project selection process. This is very important. I mean, the project sources, the projects come in, they go through the validation in terms of guiding themes, they go through the category, we do step 2. Step 3, we do the project scoring and prioritization based on a professional recommendation, and then it goes to the elected officials for approval of the project list. But it's important to note that throughout this process over here, we're going to engage all those stakeholders that are involved in terms of Miami Forever Bond, including this board. And then here is a complete map of the project selection. So as you can see, you can follow easily with the numbers that I posted in there. Number 1, project sources, they go into that. Number 2, guiding themes, and then again, the same process there. And then it goes through the implementation of the, and that breaks down into 2, implementation of the whole bond and implementation of once we start releasing the tranche. And then the outcomes. The outcomes are very important because you know where we're going to go, what we're trying to achieve in Miami Forever Bond. We want to increase safety, positive environmental impact, new improved infrastructure, and on and on and on. And then maybe if we do a very good job, then we pave the way for a Miami Forever Bond 2.
Suleiman, can I pause you for a moment?
Yes.
I recall discussions in the past that moving into the second tranche, or however we're going to package that, the stormwater master plan had to be completed. Has that been done?
The stormwater master plan currently, right now, they have completed the data gathering and the modeling, and currently they are running scenarios in terms of developing the project list. That's the final report, and we're hoping to have a draft by the end of this year, with the final one being sometimes in February of 2021. And those projects also what's going to influence, as if I'll go back here 1 second. So that's the category of sea level rise and flood prevention. As you can see here, that's the major source of where the project is going to come for that category. So yes, we are almost seeing the end of stormwater master plan, and it should come soon.
Well, and the parks can have an opportunity on understanding the report as well, right? I'm sure that they're going to be made aware of those findings.
Absolutely. I think it's
so by December, you're saying, or early February, possibly?
By end of this year, we should have a draft of a recommended project list that they are going to recommend, and a final one sometimes in the end of February, March, beginning of March.
Okay.
Okay.
All the others are done?
I'm sorry?
All the other like significant plans have been done, or
For
those are
the,
existing, like city master plan, urban land institute, all of those other?
yeah, for example, I mean, parks, the Lara is here. We have done the parks heat map and the parks master plan, which are going to influence the project that going to the parks category. For example, for the fire station 10, this funding is only dedicated to that in terms of the public safety. We actually done a programming to actually see and understand how much the cost is going to be for that. Roadways, we have just improved the pavement condition index. We are right now into the process of understanding the tool that we have just done, and that's going to provide projects for the roadways category. And we are in the process of developing different scenarios that we can recommend for the commission consideration and approval. Affordable housing, as you know, I mean, Mr. Duran mentioned last presentation we had for the future project. They usually come from the pipeline application we do have, and are influenced for some of the affordable housing master plan that we currently have in place.
Suleiman, I have a quick question. And sorry to be a broken record, but I work in the arts, so I have to ask the question. How are we evaluating cultural facilities for projects? Because I've asked that question probably half a dozen times, and the response has always been, we're waiting for DREAM to assess what we can possibly do. And so I'm just curious if we're making progress along those lines.
Well, right now, I think we have some of the recommended list of cultural facilities that we are currently evaluating. And I don't know if you have anybody from DREAM over here to address that. If we do, I would like them to chip in here and give a short update. I think we have Andrew Schimmel. I saw him earlier in here. Can somebody promote him? Sandra, can you promote Andrew?
I just promoted him.
Andrew, are you here? There
Yes,
he is.
I'm
He's
here.
in the office.
I'm working late today. Yes, so I'm here. I'm available.
So, Andrew, the question was, it's been probably a year since we started talking about how we're evaluating cultural facilities and recommending projects based on DREAM's analysis of the city's assets as far as that's concerned. So what has happened? Where are we at with that process?
So I've been asked multiple times throughout the year for ideas. I've provided some ideas about various theaters that the city manages, or we manage the asset. And aside from offering those ideas, we haven't really taken that to the next level of really evaluating which project would fit best with a tranche 2 allocation. So, I mean, unfortunately, we're still in the infancy stages of all this.
Is it possible for us to get any kind of documentation about the research that's been done and the recommendations that have been made to Chris's office, just so we can understand where your thinking is at? Because again, right now it's kind of just a black box, and we have no idea what the direction is going, as opposed to these other categories of projects which are much more defined.
Right. I mean, I wish there was something more formal, spreadsheets, pro formas, analyses, but there isn't. I mean, we've just had verbal discussions about ideas, which facilities I feel could use a tranche 2 funding, and that's really as far down the line as those discussions have gone.
Through the chair.
Yes.
Justin, if you can wait about 10 minutes, I've got some news for you on that front. So it'll be part of what I say. Okay. So thank you.
All right. So, and that leads to that portion, Chris, where I'm going to turn to you, and that is going to be the project selection and initiation timeline that Chris is going to address it in a little detail.
Very good. And Suleiman, if you could keep that up on the screen, I'd appreciate it. And I'm going to hide myself just so the audio goes a little smoother here. So I'm going to take a brief moment to step back and reintroduce myself. Again, my name is Chris Rose. I'm the budget director for the city of Miami. And I'll take this moment to let everyone know that this meeting is a bit of a passing of the baton. I know I mentioned it in the last meeting, but staff support for the Miami Forever Bond Oversight Board has now moved from the Office of Capital Improvements to the Office of Management and Budget. This is going to hopefully feel pretty seamless to you, though, for a couple of things, a couple of reasons. Hector and his team are still going to be attending, and they're really going to be there to bail me out when a question is asked that I don't know the answer to. And Suleiman is going to continue to support the Oversight Board. He has just moved from Hector's office to my office. And another added benefit of this is that Hector and his team are really going to get the focus on getting the projects constructed and getting them completed. Not that the Oversight Board is a bother in any way, but he's going to really get the chance to focus down on putting bricks on top of bricks and getting things built. So where this change becomes practical is that in the next few months, we're putting together all of the future projects of the Miami Forever Bond, not just Tranche 2. And I know I brought the word tranche to the city of Miami, but we need to start thinking bigger and longer. I'm not really used to having a bond program that doesn't have projects in it. It's not the way that I've participated in bonds earlier in my career, and normally a lot of times you will have the projects actually set out before it even goes to a vote, a vote of the citizenry. So Suleiman has given you the process by which we come to our best professional recommendation, which we are going to put in front of our city commissioners for decisions and deciding what all of the rest of the projects are going to be, all the future projects of the Miami Forever Bond. We will then come in behind that and fund it with various tranches of money, but we're not going to necessarily tie projects to tranches. We're going to just come with the money as necessary. I will also make sure I set expectations to say that just because a project is funded doesn't mean we're going to be able to work on it right away. There is a flow and a capacity that the city has, that the permitting process has, that the procurement process has, that the construction process has. So we're going to have to then start scheduling things out, making sure they're not in conflict with each other, and think of all of those projects as a bond program of the whole going forward. So we're going to be meeting with city commissioners several times over the next few weeks and months to work out what we're going to bring to the city commission in the month of January. Now, as you all know, Chapter 2, Section 2-1338 that set up the Miami Forever Bond Oversight Board states that the City Commission will set all projects for the bond. We will present our best professional recommendation to the Commission, and they will vote and decide. As part of that process, my team and I are going to be reaching out to the three of you, reaching out to the other two current board members of the Oversight Board, and if the other two vacant positions are filled, we're going to reach out to them as well. And there's really two topics that we want to talk to each of you about. The first one is we want you to see the professional recommendations that we're making based on those various master plans and the professionals that we have putting the projects forward, so that we can tell the commissioners what your input is and what you think about those projects. And the second thing that we want to talk to you about is a little more mundane but still important, and that is to ask you what you want to see in these meetings, especially that big program status report. That's the spreadsheet that Suleiman puts up and has all of the projects on it, all the funding. I have kidded Suleiman a little bit about how it looks a little like the Vegas Strip. You know, it's got a lot on there. So so we do want to talk to you about how we can present the information better if possible. But if you're happy with it the way it is, then we will continue with it the way it is. But those are the two things we want to come talk to you about. What changes can we make to make your board member experience better, your oversight better, and present that information clearer. So if you would, watch for us to set up the meetings, and watch for the projects to come to the City Commission in the month of January. It's all there on the page in front of you, but the green arrow, the green section, which is not all the way to the right, but next to the right, that's sort of the culmination of it. That's what we're going to bring to our commission, and then after that, you know, we get to build things. So, Madam Chair, that's everything I have to say tonight, and I'll take any questions and help out any way I can.
Thank you, Chris, for that. So I just wanted to say, I mean, hopefully this next moving of the baton is certainly something that becomes more efficient for the process of the bond entirely. That being said, I do think January is very, very soon. Is there a reason why you are trying to present these projects, you know, within the next 2.5 months?
Yes and no. There are reasons we are not wedded to that time frame, but if nothing else, come February, I actually start back into my next budget process. So one of the things was to try and fit this in between some of those things. That doesn't mean it has to be that way. You know, early in the budget process, I'm leaning more on the good directors that are out there, like Lara and Chief Eloy is here and such. So the work at the front end is more with the department than it is with me and my staff. So if we had to move into February, we could. I'd like to still keep the marker down in January so that we can rush and move towards that. So
the reason
so that's why we're
just posing, I mean, just to back up for a moment, I recall Suleiman just mentioning stormwater master plan. I mean, we've spoken about that for some time. If there's a draft recommendation coming out December, possibly February, it just seems like that's something that should go around through at least the directors, the committees, the Climate Resilience Board. What are these recommendations and all of this data and, you know, information that's been gathered for 2-3 years since that process started? Especially since we really pushed the public and sold this as a resiliency bond to begin with. So I think that information is very relevant. And also, I mean, I know that we're shifting from the capital improvements, design, engineering focus to strictly budget, right? So that's really the dollars and the numbers, your expertise. But I do think the design engineering lens is really important so that the projects are really substantial, right? That they're not just, we can get the money and build it, but that they're really long lasting and innovative, and they're really providing a return to the city on those investments. So that's what I feel.
No, excellent points all. I will say the budgeting process, the strategic planning process, the stormwater master plan, the capital budgeting process, all they're coming together, and I will tell you, you know, there's not too many days in a row that go by that Alan and I don't talk, that Hector and I don't talk, that you know, all the other directors. I mean, it is, budgeting is more about prioritization and communication than it is the numbers. I love math, but I'm not a mathematician. I'm a budget guy because I like the people, and that's what budgeting really is. I'll say too, a general obligation bond, which this is not, Richard. I get it. This is a limited ad valorem bond, but it is a voted bond. It is there to change the face. I mean, that's what it's there for. It's for real projects that move the needle, that change things. So we're gonna, well, I'll say too, Hector and Alan both have already preliminary ideas from the stormwater master plan. It's not ready. Suleiman talked about some of the input that we've got already and how it's going to be in draft form come December. So all of this is helping inform us, but your point is well taken. So let me take another look at the timeline perhaps. And another possibility that we have talked about internally is splitting off that piece and working on everything else, at least prioritizing the projects that will be in the other, what would that be, $208 million of the bond. So point well taken though.
Can you get into that just for a moment? So there's 58 million from the first tranche. So all remaining funds of the 400 would be put in this final tranche.
Right. And Suleiman, if I can get you to go back about 10 slides or so to where we talk about the 58 and what's remaining in the different categories. There is, of course, the remaining, let me do the math real quick, 341 and change million dollars. And there we go. So the 192 million of sea level rise and flood prevention, there's 181 million of that left. That was a relatively light amount in the first tranche. And I would like to get us away from thinking in terms of tranches and think in terms of the bond program as a whole. And the tranche is just the way to get the money there on time, I guess is the right way to think about it. And we do have some capacity coming up in the future, and we will of course work within that. So all of that said, it's more of a prioritization process than anything else. And for that, I want your input. We've already got most of the director's input. We've got our professional plans, master plans, and otherwise that go into this prioritization process. Ultimately, we need to take that and put it in front of our city commission and get them to vote. And it's a good time for a couple of reasons to move forward. Number one, interest rates are really low, so we can kind of get some good bang for our buck there financially. But as well as Hector and his team move from design of current tranche one into construction of tranche one, it's a good time to start doing the planning and design of the next set of projects. I don't want to call it a tranche, but that's just the next set, whatever we would schedule next, and to make sure that we can spread it around the various expertise in his office, so that we have the folks that are really good at sea level rise and flood prevention have a certain set of things to work on. The parks folks have a certain set of things to work on. Alan and his team can work on the roadways, and Alfredo and his team can put forth the next group of affordable housing. So,
Well, and that's great. And I, not to keep.
Yes, I'm saying the same thing. We're not wedded to the time.
Well, yeah, and sorry, it's cutting out. It might be on my end, but again, I've said this a couple times already, but I do believe that the resilience bond that was really presented to the public was to help mitigate against flooding. Now there's other serious issues around heat and storm surge, and I do believe that a lot of these buckets could help mitigate those issues, right? It's not just exclusive to the sea level rise and flood prevention, but parks, roadways, affordable housing. The first tranche didn't really address that too much in design, and I know that things moved quickly and that needed to go out. But $342 million. I do think that information, that data needs to be really like presented, taken in by the directors from now until when that comes before the city commission. And I think at least February, if we can push it back a little bit past January, just because holidays, December and January can sometimes just move quickly.
Well, and
And
just to echo the vice chair's concerns, we just heard from Andrew that the review of the cultural facilities, which I don't want people to forget about in regards to the bond, is in very early stages. So how you go from a preliminary assessment to a drafted project list inside of 2 months is a big challenge in the timeline. So having all the data, as the vice chair has said, in front of us before we make a $340 million commitment to a set of projects that are prioritized based on incomplete information, I think if we push it back a couple months, that can only help us make the right decisions.
Okay, good.
can I move then for our next meeting that we host it early December, and we have maybe the stormwater master plan recommendations and Justin's culture facilities dream criteria, maybe just a little bit more on that. I recognize we're the oversight committee, and at the end of the day, the city commission will make the projects, select them, but it'd be great again to just see how you guys are all thinking about all of this data, and where we can also help and push and advocate to the city commission, exciting design projects like the way we just saw Jose Marti Park. I think that was awesome. It's exciting. We want to see more of those. I certainly do. But, sometimes these things move really quickly. And so 342 million is quite a large amount.
All right. If that's the will of the board, then yes, we can come back in December and present what we have at that time. Andrew, we've got some work to do.
All right, so thank you, Chris. And that moves into the next. It's basically just to determine the future meetings. I think we are also need to closely monitor. Legal will let us know whether we're going to still meet in virtually or we're going to meet in person coming up December. So, but
do we have, Suleiman, sorry to pause. Yes. Do we have that capacity to meet in person if it's just, a couple board members and department heads spread out, or do we have to allow for the city commission to meet in person first?
I would defer that to our attorney to let us know how we meet in terms of the board.
Or as an option, I should say.
I was gonna say, we could follow up offline. It's likely that it will be in person because the governor's executive order does expire and there's no indication that he'll renew it. So I would say all options are on the table.
When does that expire, Rich? Or is that end of the month or?
End of the month, yep.
Okay. Well, certainly if we're in phase 3, right? I mean, the least we can do is perhaps meet in person if we can, or maybe we could do a hybrid where we can have, if there are members that want to meet virtually, they can do that. Is that possible?
I'd have to review the code provision that established the board. Usually that's in the bylaws or in the code specifically, whether telephonic attendance is possible. But it definitely won't count towards quorum, so you will still need a quorum present.
Justin, Ruth, do you have any thoughts on that? I mean, I think it'd be nice to meet in person if we can do it. But if it does limit us to not being in quorum.
I personally would like to understand what the safety protocols that are put in place at City Hall.
Yeah. The chair, if I may. The city commission dais does not look like that anymore. That picture is a bit of an old picture. There is plexiglass between each of the seats now. It is set up for for 5, which happens to be the current number of members we have of the Miami Forever Bond Oversight Board. But if we do move to more members, we'll have to move and adjust a little bit, but they are set up with plexiglass between each of the seats today, so that when the governor's order expires and is not renewed, we are ready to go back in person for city commission meetings.
That's good to hear. And so you're saying if we needed to expand or get the space, could we get, the edges there? I don't know if those have mic. I know that the attorneys have their mics there, but the seats just outside of the 5 to the left and right, do those have mic capabilities?
They do have microphones, I'll be honest with you, we'd have to look at it. I'm sure there's a way, I think is the right way to say it.
And also plexiglass for legal as well.
Yeah, it's plexiglass all the way across, even on the sides.
Well, that's good to know that you're preparing for that.
Any recommended dates for when you want to meet next in terms of December?
If we're going to do December, my personal preference would be not earlier than the second week.
Second week being the week of 7?
Yes. So if we wanted to keep it to Tuesday, maybe December the 8th.
That works for me.
Yeah, or the 15th, either. So depending on, I guess, for available dates to also include with the rest of the board members to consider.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we will confirm with the rest via email, and then we can see if everybody's available and if you need quorum.
And again, we have 2 vacancies. One we know is been open for some time. The mayoral open, seat with Melissa gone, he's aware as well, I would imagine. Hopefully he's maybe on top of it as well. Okay, so the 8th or the 15th. Sounds good. I had just one other item on the agenda, unless there's something else on the dates or meeting. I have heard about this Mayor's Resilience Action Forum that started. That's gotten some good reviews, and it's like an opportunity for the directors to participate. I don't know if there was just a little that can be shared on that. I don't know, from Alan or maybe Hector. I was just interested to hear how that's going.
We're going to turn that to Alan. Alan?
Yeah, if you can hear me. In discussions with the mayor and a number of different people in the communities, there was definitely a desire to have a more open dialogue about resilience items. And so as we're trying to satisfy that, along with at the Climate Resilience Committee, there's a request to have greater access to the Resilience Action Group, which is the internal city staff that focus on resilience efforts. We created a forum. The first one is going to be on October 27th at 3 p.m. And actually, I'm trying to find the email with the flyer that will be going out sometime this week with all the details, but it will be a Zoom meeting once a month at 3 p.m. of the last week of the month for 1 hour. And the general format will be the mayor or the city manager or both will be able to provide some introductory comments, talk about major issues that they're working. The staff will give some short presentations on topics of interest. Like right now, we're working on greenhouse gas reduction planning. So we'll get some talk about the priority efforts that are ongoing, key dates for meetings, and then it'll be about 30 minutes of exchange with whoever decides to come. It's open to everybody. It will be on a Zoom platform to just allow us to have more dialogue with the public. So that's it. Quickly, that is the concept.
Great. Thank you, Alan.
Mm.
Well, glad there's more dialogue and more. I know it's hard to get the public involved. I know that I understand that they're getting very active with the county commission. I don't know how the city commission, how the public has been more involved through virtual meetings. With that, I will just also open up one last time for any public comments that might be out there. If anybody would like to speak. I do see someone at City Hall, but that might be a staff member with a mask. Oh, of
That's
course,
the-
security.
Yeah, that's Mike. He's the security guy for us.
All right. Yes.
Madam Chair, if I may as well, Alan and I have been talking quite a bit, just as a little teaser. We are working a fair amount more resilience items into the budget, both the printed budget and the budget process going forward. Alan and his team are working on greenhouse gas baselines, and that'll be at least some of the performance measures that we're going to be putting in there. And it's a good partnership. He's been running a few different Zoom meetings lately, so there's some good input going a lot of different ways. Somehow I'm going to figure out how to get a little emoji in our budget book that goes with everything that we're doing resilience. So thank you, Alan.
That's
Appreciate
wonderful.
And if I can, I'm gonna put up the flyer real quick so everybody who is on here can see it. And hopefully you're seeing the flyer now. So
Excellent.
on the bottom right side, you see the link that you'll be able to every month. If you have questions or topics that you want us to be preparing for, we would ask you to send the questions or the topic to resilience@miamigov.com so that we can be prepared to have the answers you want, or at least to have the right people in the room for the discussion, however it may be.
Fantastic. Maybe we can add a little input on where we're at in the stage and the changes that have, been addressed tonight. Little updates as well.
And now I just got to figure out how to get my screen down. Oh, okay, I found it.
One last thing, just because I remembered the Biscayne Bay back bay study, Alan, where there, I know you addressed it at the last meeting that there were edits that would be submitted to the core. Anything to share positively?
So the status of the back bay studies after the public comment period ended, the Corps recognized there was quite a bit of public opposition to the flood walls in the Brickell downtown area. Based on the inability to reconcile some of those comments and to, as it is currently in the draft plan, to get local support for it, the county has requested for a waiver to the 3x3 process to allow for more time and more funding to do a little bit more analysis and determination of what those features should be. They're still waiting for the court to decide whether or not they will allow that to happen. And that's where we are right now.
Is there a timeline for that until that's decided upon? Or is it like a back and forth process now?
The agency decision milestone is on November 18th, and that is when the Corps locks in what the current plan will be, or what the plan will be. It then becomes the National Economic Development Plan. That is what will be optimized to be submitted with the final report.
The 18th, say that again, November 18th?
November 18th.
Of this year.
Of this year. The county has requested that we get a waiver to that so that we can allow additional time to do more analysis and studying. And we're waiting for the court to make a determination with the headquarters in Washington, D.C., whether or not that will be allowed or they're going to stay on the current timeline.
What are they asking for, like 6 months, a year, or less?
The process doesn't work for exactly how long What they have asked for is an extension to the timeline. If they say yes, then we will negotiate exactly what the objectives are and determine how much time that would take.
Thank you. Good to know. Other good things to know as we line up future bond money. Well, that being said, thank you all to the directors that were present tonight and spoke, and to the public that did listen in.
Madam Chair, sorry to interrupt. We have a hand up from one of the, I guess, attendees. It's a public comment, maybe.
Wonderful. Yes, Carolyn Donaldson.
Wait.
Hi, Miss Donaldson. Can you?
Hi, how are you? Yeah. Sorry about that. You didn't see my hand raised earlier. I just had a quick question for Coconut Grove. I know that they've started to vacate the Frankie Shannon Rolls Center. And so I guess my question was, I see you're putting a process in place where you track these projects. Will something similar be put in place that, because I think the changes there will have a ripple effect as it relates to some other projects in the Grove? Or is that a project that you track with that level of detail for that community?
Yes, I believe you are referring to the Platform 3750 project.
Yes, that's what I'm referring to.
Right, that project is scheduled to break ground end of November. And so we will definitely be tracking the progress of that project. It is a rather substantial project that will have a large economic impact on the area as well as housing.
Correct.
And we definitely will be tracking the progress of that from start to finish.
Okay. All right. So the groundbreaking is scheduled to be November.
The end of November is their target date right now. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. And so you will have that going out as a part of the communications plan that you displayed earlier so that we're able to monitor that progress?
Yeah, we'll work with the bond manager to include a progressive report of how that project is going percentage-wise of completion.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Donaldson. All right. Well, thank you all again. Appreciate everyone's time and glad to see everyone's faces. If there's anything else that we need to address, if not, I'm going to close our meeting this evening. So with that, I adjourn. Be safe. Take care of yourselves, and we'll see you in December or sooner.
Thank you all.
Good night,
Thank you very
everyone.
much.